must have been times in the whole process where it was sometimes 2 steps forward, 1 step back, eh?
Oh, yes.
Right.
And you know, and I suppose when you had those steps backwards, it must have been frustrating for you guys to realize that, you know, you're making progress and then all of a sudden it's like you're back, you know, facing something that you thought you had dealt with.
Well, absolutely, because there are always triggers, and there still are for me today.
I'm
Yeah.
sure.
You know, but I know that Dick knows what they are, and he's been very gracious with me, and he's been very loving.
And so
But
he
I'll
should
tell
be,
him,
right?
and he better be.
Or she'll call Graham, right?
But, you know, I mean, even through the process, you know, you think you've dealt with forgiveness in an area, and then something will, it can be anything. It can be something someone says, it can be something you see
Yeah,
on a
yeah,
billboard,
yeah.
it can
Yeah.
be something you see on television, or, and it just, boom, it's right there. You know,
Yeah.
the whole thing is back again, and then you have to just.
We all do that, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Whoa.
We all go back to something,
Yeah.
even though we may not think about it for a long time, then we go back
Yeah.
to it and
Or someone
it's
else
real.
is in the situation
Yeah.
that you're in, and,
Yeah.
you know, you just feel this.
Yeah.
It's kind of
I-
like
I guess
layers,
it's
isn't
normal,
it? You
isn't
think you're
it?
healed
Is it
and then
normal?
It is.
That's good.
Yes, Joan, it's normal.
And then there's,
Thank you.
I'm sure there's some things that it'll never be gone. I mean, as much as
Yeah.
we say our marriage is better than ever, and that's reality.
Yeah.
Yet, I mean, it's not like our minds don't work. We do remember the past.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's
Absolutely.
like Joseph. I mean, you know, the word says in the New Testament, forgetting those things that are behind. Well, there's no way Joseph would have forgotten the pit, or Potiphar,
Yeah.
or the prison. But I mean, it doesn't hurt anymore, and you don't feel the same anger anymore, or
Right.
Right.
or all that
Yeah.
you
And
did
that's
through it. But
God's
you don't
grace.
forget
That's
it.
Actually, that's quite key. You don't feel the same anger.
Uh-huh.
My definition of forgiveness practically, I know it's removing the debt, okay? It's
Yes.
forgiving the debt, letting go of the
Yeah.
debt. But practically, it is when the anger that's in comes out.
Yeah.
Here's my psychological biblical theory, all right, which is all hurt will produce anger in us because God has made us that way.
Really?
To deal with the hurt, the anger actually is a positive energy that works in us to defend ourselves against the hurt. However, we use the anger usually wrongly, and so when we do that, then we create more hurt because
Yeah.
we have anger back again.
Well, that's very
Now,
interesting.
in the journey of that, and this is all in my book that I've written called
See,
Healing
we're
Life's
getting
Hurts.
some free counsel here. This is great.
Healing Life's Hurts.
Healing Life's
And
Hurts.
it's a
You know,
tremendous
we
book.
should mention that. It's a tremendous book.
Yes.
And, yeah, you know, we used to have Graham and Sherry on to do
I know.
these programs. They were the best received
Yeah.
programs. You get more calls.
That's great.
And the book is really awesome. It'll really help people. So if someone's watching this, they should Google that, right, and get Healing's Life Hurts You.
I wasn't trying to advertise.
No,
my
No,
that's-
but I am. That's why I did.
Thank you. But it is in the book, so that hurt is danger to us, and danger will produce anger. And God has made us that way, so
Yeah.
that we have a way to defend ourselves.
Yeah.
Now, what happens is, though, when I don't do it right, I retaliate and try to pay someone back for having hurt me.
Wow.
Then, of course, it gets more complicated.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, in order to forgive somebody, like for Joan to forgive Dick, she
Yeah.
has to get the anger out. And we've spent quite a bit of time for Joan getting the anger out. That's a practical thing we do
Yeah.
in counseling all the time.
Yeah.
Now, we know that. When we get hurt between ourselves, I know that the relationship is not restored until I get the anger out of me.
Yeah.
And then I know I've forgiven. See, if I keep bringing it up again, now I can remember it in my mind.
Yeah, yeah.
But if in my emotions I'm still carrying it here and I bring it up again and I remind Sherry, well,
Yeah.
Because you meet people who say, you know, I've forgiven, I moved on, but they continually talk about it.
then they have not.
Yeah.
Now, do
yeah.
people tend to
That's-
try to suppress the anger, like they don't want to even admit that they're angry?
Okay, now those are technical terms. Let me just define those for you.
Thank God for this session here.
Suppression is
It's helping you, is it, Bill?
Suppression is a conscious process. So I'm consciously saying, I'm not going to let my anger get away. I'm not going to be angry. That would be
Yes.
suppression.
Yeah.
The more common process is repression. I'm doing it unconsciously.
Oh, okay.
So I've been trained to push things down. And so from
Yes.
childhood on, you shouldn't be angry. You shouldn't be afraid.
Yeah.
So we push fear down, we push anger down,
Wow.
we push guilt down, we repress a lot. That's unconscious to us. Denial is the other one. I'm not
Yes.
angry.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
angry, but I am. So
If
those
you
are the
say
two
I'm
most
angry one
common
more
things.
time,
Yeah.
I'll punch you.
Yes.
Yeah. But with you, Joan, you must have had times when you knew in your own heart that you were angry, but you didn't want to express and even go there when you were being counseled? Were there times like that? Where you
I
just,
think I was pretty open and honest
was it?
with Graham and Sherry, but I did learn that
Was.
I had in the past stuffed a lot of anger.
Yeah,
Okay.
And that's another story.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
but it does go
because-
to her childhood.
Sure it
That's
does.
right.
And that is linked to, you know, I mean, everybody grows up in a different set of circumstances
Right.
and
Yeah.
scenarios, and things affect their life, which is why they had to do all this in order to help me with my anger
Okay.
and ongoing,
Yeah.
you know, don't stuff it anymore. So we have really learned to deal with things,
Mm-hmm.
little
That's
things.
good. Yeah,
And
I would say that is maybe one of the more observable differences today in
Right.
both of us, is that if something comes up, it is dealt with very,
Yeah.
very quickly. It's
Yeah.
like, I forgive, and then, and we mean it, and it, on you go, right?
yeah.
And,
It's
and
really
the most amazing thing I think out of this is the ministry you're gonna have to others.
yeah,
Because you've walked the walk now, and you've done it, and you've been healed, and
yeah.
of course, it's a process. You know, somebody told us that Ruth Graham, Billy Graham's wife, is buried down at their evangelism center, and they saw her tombstone, and she had seen this on a sign on a highway years ago. It said, "When I die, that's all I want on my tombstone." So it says Ruth Graham, the date, birth, death. End of construction. Thank you for your patience. And I think, you know, all of us are on this journey
Yeah.
of healing and hope, and but what we've seen as friends, seeing them walk through, and we weren't privy to the counseling sessions, but just watching them as they were getting healed through it, excited us to see how open they can be now and telling their story
Yeah.
and transparent, and how much that's going to mean to others. Because in the church, we haven't talked about this stuff. We've just pretended everything is
Right,
okay.
Exactly.
And, you know, Bill's saying that, you know, because we weren't privy to, you know, the steps and the things that they were sharing personally, yet there were those measurable marks that as an outsider, we could see.
Yeah, you could see the
Like,
progress.
you know, we would get together every, you know, couple of months or sometimes monthly, and
I
it
lived
was-
in your home a few times.
Yeah.
You did,
yeah.
For
yes.
visits.
But it was amazing
both
to
of us.
watch the progress with both of you, and you progressed at different levels
Levels,
and
yeah.
different speeds. And to see, and afterwards, after you'd be gone, now here we're sharing a secret that we talked about you. But,
Imagine.
but in a nice way.
that's why the ears were
Yeah,
ringing.
but no, we would often comment afterwards, and we would say, you know, isn't it great to see that, you know, last time we were with Dick and Joan, this was happening, and how they reacted, and maybe it was only one of you, or it was, you know, a different one
Yeah,
each
yeah.
time. But we could actually say that, you know, it was something you could tangibly measure, and we could actually see the progress.
And I think, you know, I mean, we were there, you know, at the beginning of when this was coming out, with them in their home, and we heard Joan's heart that she wanted, you know, she loved her husband, she wanted to work through this, and
Right.
yet we saw the depth of the pain
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
and the depth of the anger, and you really thought, will she make it? I mean, honestly, and you must have felt that. I mean, you know, the heart was right. You wanted to, but could you? And to see, you know, see what's happened.
Well, one thing that's been really wonderful to know is that we know that there were people all across the nation praying for us.
Right,
And we
yeah.
still meet people today that say, you know, we've been
Yeah.
praying for you for 3 years.
Isn't that amazing?
Thank God.
Makes a
you know?
difference,
And
doesn't
then
it?
to have people who are close to us like this, who really believed in us and who
Yeah.
cared about us,
Yeah.
and then to have the expertise of Graham and Sherry to really know how to walk us through that process. And to know that God prepared you 5 years before, that you knew that someday we'd be sitting, or I
Well,
don't
I
know if
didn't
you
know
knew that we'd be
that.
sitting
Yeah, I
in
know.
Just knew God
your
put you on my
room,
heart.
Yeah.
but
Right.
you knew
Yeah.
that someday you'd be able to minister
Yeah, yeah.
to us.
Right.
And that's just really the grace of God.
It
But
is.
but the actual forgiveness and the way we talked before about the fact that I've been able to say to my children, it's like it never happened, that has to be a work of God.
That is.
It has to be.
And you know, you folks, I don't think you could have done what we did but we sure couldn't have done what you did. And I think God put in you and around you
Yeah.
what you needed and who you needed.